Good morning and happy Wednesday. Welcome to the show that's on in the morning. We are happy to have you join us today. We have Father Matt in studio. He is my priest. So Father Matt from Trinity Parish is in studio for an inspirational and motivational interview. You got that?
Okay.
With him this morning.
I better dial it up. Dial it up.
Don't go halfway here.
We'll also be talking about the sidewalk vendors shut down for Nights of Lights and lots more. We'll get to all that and more. Since 1949, Bozard Ford Lincoln has been more than just a dealership. It's a family-owned tradition built on honesty, integrity, and true community service right here in St. Augustine. Experience award-winning service in their state-of-the-art facility with 91 climate-controlled service bays, a quick lane for no appointment maintenance, and the comfort of a customer lounge and Ford's Garage restaurant. Right now, take advantage of Ford's employee pricing from America for America. It's their best pricing of the year, extended to you as part of Ford's commitment to the people who drive this country forward. Visit Bozard Ford Lincoln, just off I-95 and State Road 16, where you're not just a customer, you're family. They are driven to inspire.
Not expire.
That deal doesn't expire yet, so go get it. Another big shout out. Another big shout out to all of our amazing sponsors: Fidus Roofing, Old Town Trolley, Bin 39 Wine Bar, BNS Signs, Chiba Hut Toasted Subs, St. Augie's Pizza, Chris Lucero Bail Bonds, and St. Augustine Handy Houses. Support all of our wonderful sponsors and support us with your likes, comments, and shares. Find us on YouTube and help us reach our goal of 1,000 subscribers. Help keep the lights on by sending those Facebook stars. We really appreciate it. Our app is back in the Apple App Store with new features like a playlist link for Bollocks this evening, the 904 Vault, and direct links to the St. Johns County, City of St. Augustine, and St. Augustine Beach public meetings. Grab that app from the App Store. It's the best way to stay connected. All right. Good morning, everybody. How you doing, Troy?
Hey, happy Wednesday.
It is Wednesday.
All right. And there's a little bit of confusion because Clay Murphy was going to be in here. He had a budget conflict. He had to talk to one of the departments before the budget hearings, and we had to move him till Friday.
Yeah.
So Father Matt stepped up. Him and I talked a couple weeks ago about doing an interview, and he came in.
I'm a rolling budget conflict.
And saved the day.
We love a rolling budget conflict in a collar. How you doing today, Blake?
I'm doing fantastic today.
Awesome. Nice and bright and red. We love to see it.
Thank you.
Troy, we got a question of the day.
Question of the day. Your question of the day is, what was the first career you like, oh, I really want to do that when you were a little kid? I know Blake's. I don't know if Blake remembers what his was.
Okay.
So I'll see if Blake remembers what his was. But what was your first job that you wanted to do?
I'm weird because I actually did the first job I ever wanted to do. I was that little kid at like 5 or 6 that I wanted to be a dolphin trainer, and I did it.
That's
and
awesome.
It was really cool. I'm really glad that I did it. It's not a job that's easy to do if you want to be like a stay-at-home mom kind of person. So as I was getting married, I transitioned out of dolphin training. But it was such a cool experience, and I treasure those days and those relationships.
That'd be a pretty smelly job at some point.
It was terrible.
Yeah.
I met my husband while I was doing that job, and I knew he loved me because I always came home smelling like fish.
Oh,
Heron and Capelin were the 2 fish that we dealt with the most. And yeah, you're covered in fish scales, and
that's what I'm saying. It's just all over you. And it's just,
you take a shower. Like I would take multiple showers in the day because, like, obviously.
Yeah. And
I was always in and out of the water, and still we would like snuggle on the couch, and he'd put his hand on my leg, and there'd be a dry scale, which looks like a cigarette burn scar. That's what it looks like. And so you'd like rub your hand along my leg and there'd just be this circular dent from the scale.
So I wondered why in the church video booth you were always jamming the fish oil pills.
Yeah,
You just can't get that fish smell out. Yeah.
You know.
That's how she's coming down from that job. Is
gotta
what it
fade
is.
out.
So, Blake, do you remember what your first one was?
Did it involve being a bus driver?
It was. He wanted to be a bus driver.
Nice.
He, like from like 5 to like 7. Like we would go to Disney, and he just want to ride the buses from park to park.
I mean, those buses.
That's all he wanted to do, and he's like, I want to be a bus driver.
Yeah,
those buses were awesome. Like those buses were awesome.
They are fun.
Yeah, just the whole anticipation of going to the park in that bus, then also going out to the front of Magic Kingdom is just the greatest feeling ever.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun. I get that excitement.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure. I know what I wanted to be. I mean, like this was what I wanted to be my entire life until I realized I just didn't have the skills. I wanted to be a professional baseball player.
Yep.
So I mean, that's from like literally the time I could walk and breathe. That's what I wanted to be.
You're not alone. Nick wanted to be a professional baseball player too.
Yeah. So, but that's I still got to play in parks.
Close.
I got to play in parks for 25 years. So I mean, that's
awesome.
kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but that's
Matt, what did you want to be?
Phoenix Suns basketball player. And I was very close to the Suns blowing a 9th round draft pick on me. And the year that I was going to, because I was a trainer's assistant, which is glorified ball boy. And the year that they were going to blow the 9th round draft pick on me, there was a Suns drug scandal. The coach got fired. And the NBA went to like a 3-round draft instead of a 9-round draft. So no one was going to waste a real draft pick.
So you'd have been like, there's the NBA and then there's the D League and the G League. So you'd have been like the R League.
So back in the day, they had 9 rounds of draft so that when it came time to do tryouts, they would have enough people to have, a 3-day, you'd have a 3-day camp and you'd have enough people that you could scrimmage.
Right on.
So
that's why you got all those basketball pictures.
Why Phoenix though?
Well, I'm a Phoenix kid, and my dad was actually the first season ticket holder for the Phoenix Suns. He was the guy when Jerry Colangelo got recruited to Phoenix as a 29-year-old Italian guy, and he got off the plane as a joke. Like he was just taking the interview as a joke. He wanted to play golf for 2 days. And it was like January in Chicago, and go to Phoenix for 2 days for an interview. Yeah, right. So he gets off the plane and it calls his wife and goes, "Hey, pack your bags. We're coming. The weather's unbelievable." Yeah. So he needed. He's a 29-year-old Italian, so he looks in the phone directory for another 29-year-old Italian who happened to be my dad. So the kind of grew up around the Suns.
That's awesome.
That's really
that's awesome. No, I Blake knows this story. I probably about 6-7 years ago, I was offered a job. Maybe it was less than that. Maybe offered a job in Phoenix, for a lot of money. And I went out there for a week, and I was walking a lot at that time, so I went out and did my walks in the morning, and I realized that there was no trees to pee behind. So I
depends on where you are in Phoenix. Where we lived in Phoenix, they had irrigation, which was basically the equivalent of putting, the Salt River Project would run the equivalent of Seattle rain into your yard every year. So it looked like the Midwest where we lived.
Oh, okay. All right. I didn't get in that neighborhood. Everything was brown. My shoes, my socks, everything was brown. And
were you there in the summer?
It was pretty warm. It wasn't like 107 out. I think I was there in the springtime.
Yeah, 107 is nice. It's not really bad until it's over like 108, and then it's just ugly.
That's the limit.
Yeah. Like 107 was it's not that bad.
Yeah.
But
your
then
breath doesn't catch on
over
fire.
Over 110. It's just hellish.
But it's a dry heat.
Yeah, and that's how they do peanuts in their shells. They dry roast them.
Yeah, outside.
Yeah.
Leave them on the porch.
I do not miss Phoenix. I miss some people in Phoenix, and there's some great restaurants in Phoenix. But I do not miss from like May 1st to November 15th.
What? And that's I would have had to live
a little fraction of the year.
On this job. I'd have had to live half my time in Phoenix / Scottsdale, and the other half in Tucson. And they're like, "This is the good one." I was like, "I don't need to go to the other one." I didn't even go to Tucson.
Well, the interesting thing about Tucson is it can be 110 outside, and you're 1 hour from 60 degrees.
Yeah,
because Mount Lemmon is right there.
Right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so weird.
Yeah.
Speaking of weather, it's time for a quick check of the weather.
How was that for a segue?
That quick check of the weather.
Teeing you up, Troy. Teeing you up.
That quick check of the weather is brought to you by Bin 39, tucked inside the St. George Inn at the north end of St. George Street. Bin 39 is St. Augustine's hidden gem, offering over 95 boutique wines, including 50 rated over 90 points by Robert Parker. Perfect for a quiet date or after-work escape. Enjoy rare wines by the glass or bottle in a charming courtyard setting. Open daily from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. with live music Thursday through Sunday. One more day, people. Come sip, relax, and say, I'll have what Irving's having. Discover your new favorite pour at Bin 39, your taste to discover. And Blake, it's time. Hit the Blake's traffic report.
Traffic.
It's moving.
It's moving decently. A little bit busy than the past few days. But still, just be careful out there.
At least it's not raining on the commute.
The roads definitely aren't moist.
Because weather's aight.
Yeah. Aight. Yeah, because weather's aight.
Yeah, we got that.
Indeed.
All right. Thank you, Blake, for that. Hit the Blake's traffic report.
Aight.
That report is brought to you by Old Town Trolley. Hop aboard Old Town Trolley and explore over 500 years of St. Augustine's rich history and charm. Enjoy open-air views of iconic sites like the Castillo de San Marco, the Fountain of Youth, and Flagler's Grand Hotel. This 90-minute tour includes 22 convenient stops, 100-plus points of interest, and all-day hop-on, hop-off access. Your ticket also includes free admission to the St. Augustine History Museum and more. St. Johns County residents ride free with a full fare guest. Sign up today at hometownpass.com. Old Town Trolley, the best way to see the nation's oldest city.
I didn't know I got free admission to the museum.
Aren't you glad you came today?
Yeah, this is worth the price of admission right here.
Outing himself that he didn't watch yesterday.
You don't know.
All right, St. Augustine votes to restrict mobile vendors' locations during Nights of Lights and 4th of July. St. Augustine city leaders have voted to crack down on mobile vendors in key parts of the city, all in the name of public safety. On Monday night, city commissioners, I almost thought it said connoisseurs for a second, city commissioners unanimously approved Ordinance 2025-06, which expands vendor restrictions during major events like Nights of Lights and 4th of July. While vendors were already banned from areas like St. George Street, the new rules go further, extending the ban to sidewalks along the South Castillo Drive, Avita Menendez, State Road A1A, and Orange Street to King Street, and parts of Cathedral Place. City officials say the move is aimed at protecting pedestrians and improving emergency response during crowded events. Vice Mayor Barbara Blonder says vendors often force people into the streets where they risk getting hurt. A city report showed that during last year's Nights of Lights, first responders were delayed getting to emergency calls and experienced longer patient transport times due to severe congestion. The ordinance is now in effect, and the city says the goal is to keep sidewalks clear and make St. Augustine's busiest nights safer for everyone.
All right. Congratulations to the city commissioners. They are on a roll. It's one in a row getting it right.
They did a thing.
They got it right. This one, I think everybody agrees on. It's a lot of people that come in and they're not from this town. They set up, they poach, and then they clog up the area right there on Avenida Menendez, and it becomes a real dangerous situation on Fridays and Saturday nights. So good job. People pay a lot of rent to be there. These people don't pay anything. They need to. They
come with their big wagons of flashy light things.
They flop down doors.
Squat in the middle of the sidewalk.
They flop down doors and sell you snake oil and all kinds of stuff.
For sure. Yeah, being right there on St. George Street and King Street, I mean, Trinity Parish is kind of in the middle of all of it.
We're in the middle of that. Well, and I live down there. But we both live down there. Yeah, it's impossible getting in and out of our houses during Nights of Lights.
Yeah, no, you literally plan, okay, after 3 o'clock, we're going to be home, or we're going to be out until 10 or beyond that.
Yeah.
Because especially on Fridays and Saturdays, on the weekdays, you can usually sneak around. We have our paths that like, we don't tell other people.
If you're on your bike.
Yeah.
If you're on your bike.
Yeah.
I worked lots of years. I worked nights at the church, actually, because I would finish homeschooling my kids and then I would go in and I would work, 4 to 6 hours a night. And so I would be getting into town around 3 and then I would just camp out at the church. So if you were on a
and you still tell epic ghost stories about that time.
Yeah. If you were on a ghost tour during those years and you saw like an ethereal woman walking in the halls of Trinity Parish, it was me. It wasn't the ghost. But I did, I would keep my earbuds in because I didn't want to hear what there was to hear late at night. I was the only one on site for a lot of years. And it's an old building. And every now and again you get a vibe.
There's some creaky moments in some of those buildings downtown.
Oh, yeah.
So in the cigar building, I've never felt anything, or in the Treasury building, but I can tell you at Catalina's gym, definitely something going on there.
Oh yeah,
it's right on the Cuba line, and there's so many people have come through there over the last 80 years or so, but there's definitely something going on.
So we have gym ghosts.
Yeah,
is that what you're saying?
Okay. We have gym ghosts, and I don't know from what era it's from because it goes back to the it goes
whether
back
they
to
let you drink water when you work out. Or
I want to know if they're shooting jump shots or two-handed set shots. Yeah. So we need to know what era they're from.
I'm pretty sure they're wearing their Chuck Taylors or moccasins. I'm not sure which one.
Yeah.
So, all right, we have a very, very special guest in Father Matt. Thank you for coming in.
Well, thanks for having me.
We really appreciate it.
I don't know how you guys do this every day. Like, I just feel like there's so many deals from sponsors. Like, I'm about to go buy wine, get a trolley tour, and then go look at a Ford and get a burger.
So. Exactly. Do exactly all of those things.
That's what as soon as we leave here, that's immediately what we do every day.
Just circulate between all these good deals. How do I pass this up?
It's amazing.
We have some great sponsors. Well, hopefully you don't use the bail bonds that's our sponsor.
I'm hoping I don't need that one. Yeah.
He's a great guy, but
I got friends.
Yeah. So, now, Father Matt,
you were a friend.
Obviously for a friend. Obviously for a friend. So you were in the news and had a very unfortunate situation that took place at a coffee shop. Can you kind of tell us a little bit about how that morning was set up, and from your eyes, because we saw it from 30,000 feet. You saw it from
ground
zero. Yeah, ground
level.
Zero.
You were at ground zero.
Literally sidewalk level.
Yeah.
I had sidewalk viewing for this whole thing. I was just going to breakfast with a friend, and we're sitting out in front of the Juniper Market waiting for it to open so I could get my overnight oats. And I did not know that what was really happening was the whole day was setting up my opportunity to win the Marino family dubious talent show by writing a rap about getting stabbed that day. So,
well, all right.
That's how you won the talent show.
It's to the tune. Yeah, it's to the tune of Ice Ice Baby, and she had a knife baby.
Yeah.
So
this is a real thing. They do a family talent show.
We do this dubious talent.
But it gave you so much material.
It gave me material. I mean,
50 Cent has been making hay on that.
My wife's family has actual talent, and we have dubious talent. So we have to come up with things like, raps. So I was just, showing up for a friend to grab breakfast and wanted my overnight oats at Juniper Market, which, that little pitch for the Juniper on that one.
Oh, yeah.
Not a sponsor yet.
Not a sponsor yet. They could be.
Yeah.
And a gal walks by, turns and looks at me and says, I have problems. And it's like, she's got her arms crossed. I've got problems. And it's like, you tell a pastor you have problems and you immediately go, oh, well, tell me about it. And she leans over and sticks a knife in my chest and pulls it out. And I'm just looking and immediately I went into the most calm, flat line mode I have. Like I'm not a calm flat,
Can confirm.
Yeah, confirm. I am not a calm flatline guy. I went into the most completely level And I look down and go, hey, you just stabbed me, which is Captain Obvious, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, of course.
But I could completely see you saying that to someone.
Huh. And then she gets this like really strange look on her face, turns the knife around and starts coming after me more. And I don't really know what's going on. And at this point, I'm thinking, well, I just need to back off. And I'm trying to sort of joke around and go, hey, I don't know what this is about, but let's let bygones be bygones. I'll buy you breakfast. Yeah. You know, I'm trying to back up. And
maybe
my
don't
friend,
stab me again.
Yeah, my friend is trying to like pull her off. And other people were there, started calling 911. And I cough. And I look, and I've coughed really pretty red blood.
Oh, God.
And I'm like, oh, this just got complicated.
Yeah, this is real.
The second time I cough, now it's coming out my nose and my mouth, and I feel blood going down my leg. And I'm thinking, it's been 20 seconds, and I've got a tight belt and an absorbent shirt. If there's blood running down my knee, I'm losing a lot of blood fast. I need to get on the ground, because the only thing worse than dying is if I kill myself on the way to dying.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I got to get on the ground before I pass out. So I look at my friend and say, hey, you've got to keep her off of me. I've got to get on the ground. And so I do something that's really strange. I turn toward the street and put my back towards someone with a knife trying to stick it in me. And this, at this point, the girl's kind of out of my story. She has her own story. I don't really know what it is, but she kind of gets pulled off and then runs off and jumps on her bike and it's gone. And I'm now turning toward the street. While I'm turning toward the street, and she's still there, and my friend Jamie Sellers is trying to pull her off, and I go down to the ground. I kind of put my face on the ground and lay on my side. And at this point, I can feel that I can't breathe, and I know my lung is collapsed. And I'm thinking, I need to stay on my side so that my other lung doesn't fill up with blood, because that would be bad.
You had the wherewithal.
Yeah, everything is going very slow at this point. Very slow and very rationally at this point. When I turn, there's a guy named Chris Culver who's the hero of this story. Chris, and then an army of St. Augustine first responders. They were all amazing. It was like 12 people all had their best professional day for my benefit.
Perfect day. October 23rd.
October 23rd. Everyone had their perfect day.
The performance
so there's a guy across the street. He runs over and gets to me first. Chris happens to be, he's he's like the self-defense instructor for the immigration and customs. ICE has an offshore training here, and he's their personal defense guy. And he sees somebody with blood all over their face and thinks, that guy's getting jumped. I need to stop and help. And he happens to be a few minutes early for work. And so he goes the non-standard way to work, so he can get I'm just going to go the scenic route today. I'm going to go get the pretty view and take my time. And all of a sudden there's a guy bleeding in front of you. And so he pulls over to render aid. And I don't know if this is still true, but in October, the only person in our county that carried in his med kit a thing called a combat chest seal is Chris, because Immigration and Customs had an event a few years ago where they needed one, and so those guys kind of upped the game on their med kits. So a combat chest seal is sort of it's a $25 plastic seal with a one-way valve that's sort of like an injury version of the Starbucks, when you buy your Starbucks bag of coffee and there's the little one-way valve that lets it vent but doesn't let air go back in. It's sort of like that to help people that have a sucking chest wound. Well, I at that point had a sucking chest wound. So he's on top of me. He's trying to roll me flat. I'm trying not to be rolled flat because I don't want to have my other lung fill up. I don't really know. He knows way more about this than I do. Like my inclination says don't lay where your other lung can fill up with blood, but they're trying to reinflate my other lung. So So he puts this combat chest seal on. I'm guessing it's on within a minute of me being stabbed, which is just phenomenal. That he just happens to be right there. I happen to turn right as I'm in his line of sight. 10 seconds earlier or 10 seconds later, he never sees me.
He would have been by.
He'd have been by. And the one guy in the county that has that in his car. So I'm now on the ground, and I'm realizing I'm about to not make any of the meetings that I have that day.
Yeah.
And I've got like a really long day.
I'm like, it was a busy day.
I think I'm about to no show on a bunch of people. I hate no showing on people.
He really does.
So my brain,
how irresponsible.
I'm going through all of these like kind of important meetings that I need to have with people. And I realized I'm going to no-show on them. Maybe I should pull my phone out and text them that I'm not going to be there. It's all going through my mind. And I realized, I can't move my arms. At this point, I can't move my arms. And then I'm thinking to myself, and besides, my phone is covered with blood anyway.
I hope it still works.
Well, yeah. And then I have the, oh gosh, I'm probably dead. I did not wake up today thinking I was going to die. I would have planned better.
I would have canceled these meetings.
Did you put clean underwear on? Because we were all told.
I did have clean underwear on, but outside of clean undies, I was, not prepped for this. And so I'm kind of having this, and it's a little gray out here. Like, it's not a great day to die, actually.
Yeah.
And
this isn't the sky I want to look at.
This is all, it's usually so pretty here in St. Augustine. And so I'm having this little conversation, and now I decide to talk to God. And so I'm like, well, Lord, this is really a bummer, because I thought we were doing stuff here. I had important meetings today, and we were doing things like we're building a new church, and you are doing things in me and I'm doing things for you. Like this was going places, So in the middle of that, I feel like I have this sense that God says, oh, Matt, pastors always tell me what they do for me when they're dying.
Heard this one before.
Yeah, that's not the first time I've heard this.
So much work I want to do for you. Just for you.
I'm just far too busy down here for you to take me home. Right. So I'm having this confused moment, and I feel like Lord goes, Matt, pastors are always doing that when they die. And I'm like, really? And he goes, and I felt like God said, I want to know what you want. And I remember just going, well, how is what I want relevant? I'm either going to be with you in 30 seconds or I'm not. And either way, it seems much more relevant what you want. And I felt like God was going, no, I really want to know what you want. And I remember sitting there going, golly, I don't know what I want. I should probably know what I actually want out of life. Yeah. The existential moment while bleeding out.
Yeah.
And so
now that the to-do lists are relevant.
But the to-do list is really of very little value right now.
Yeah.
I hope someone else finds my phone and picks up my to-do list.
Yeah.
They have access to my Outlook calendar. They'll know what I was supposed to have been doing. So at this point, I sit there and I go, okay, what I'd really like to do is walk my daughter down the aisle and hold grandkids. Mm-hmm. Those would be really wonderful. And I felt like God said, well, okay, then. Now, while this is going on, there's an army of people trying to save my life.
Yeah.
And there's the gal inside of Juniper Market bringing a pile of towels to try to stop the bleeding. There's the guy running across the street from the tire, getting his tire fixed. There's Chris rendering aid. The police have shown up. Fire is on the spot. The St. John's ambulance has shown up. Jonathan's out, and he's got my head. Hey, by the way, I'm a parent of a Trinity preschool kid. So there's all of these people. The beautiful thing about getting stabbed in a small town is everybody who shows up to help.
Hey, man, it's how's your day?
I'm sitting there thinking
that was beautiful for you, but for all of your friends that were helping they were having a traumatic.
They're having a traumatic experience, and so I'm listening to everybody. I can hear Jamie on the phone calling the church, and I can imagine the conversation. Yeah, I don't think so. There's a lot of blood.
Yeah.
And I'm going, oh, this is really hard for him. And I'm hearing Jonathan calling out my vital signs, and he doesn't sound very happy. And at this point, I can hear Chris Passetti calling Carlos, the fire chief, because Carlos is a parishioner.
Yeah.
Hey, this is Father Matt. You better get here now. I hear two different firemen trying to coax the life flight people into the air, and they won't be coaxed. And I hear him saying, look, we're 40 minutes away from a trauma unit, and it's rush hour. There's no way he's going to survive a transport. So I'm listening to all these people basically saying I'm dead. And I remember sitting there thinking, well, we'll see how this plays out.
Watch what happens.
I feel like the Lord said, I'm going to keep my conversation with the big guy going. You guys do what you got to do.
I feel like the Lord said this was going to pan out okay, but these guys are saying no way. So we'll see how this plays out.
Yeah.
And and I remember Jonathan saying, I need you to stay with me. And I remember, I don't know if I actually said this out loud, but I remember saying, he said, I need you to be calm and I need you to stay with me. And I remember thinking, well, I'm very calm. I have no idea if I can stay with you.
Yeah.
And I was kind of
good
in
on
and
the
out.
first part.
Yeah, kind of shaky on the second part. So I was like in and out on the whole ride to the whole ambulance ride. Apparently they were doing like 90 up the shoulder to get me to get me up there. At this point, the church has been called, and Father Caleb is calling my wife, and he can't say I'm the one who's been stabbed because his kids are in the car and he's dropping them off at school. So he's like, there's been an incident, and I have to call you back. And so
why was he the one tasked with this job?
Well, he was just the one that Jamie got through to.
Yeah.
And then at this point, they're like the police are shutting down downtown, and they're looking for the girl. And they've got me in an ambulance, and I'm kind of in and out. And the next thing I remember is it was like the show Emergency, where they see the fluorescent lights going past you, and there's some police officer trying to figure out if trying to interview me and see if I know the girl, and they've already told me I've lost like half my blood, and they've given me a unit and they can't give me any more, and this guy's trying to interview me, and I remember going, I don't think I've ever seen the girl, but you might interview me in a couple of days because I'm pretty incoherent right now. So
I know enough to know I don't know it all right now.
I'm probably not giving you a real coherent interview right this moment. So then I start hearing.
And if they're forcing that interview in that moment, that's not a comforting sign either.
Well, I think they were probably trying to figure out, is somebody, because we'd had a sort of strange terrorist casing a couple of years ago. I think they were probably trying to figure out, is this a coordinated attack and people are going to go after the rest of the clergy at the church, or is this like personal about him? Or because stabbings are almost always personal.
Yeah.
The random.
It's too close.
Yeah. In fact, I'm laying on the ground when, kind of thinking about this, going, okay, so nobody gets stabbed in St. Augustine. No. It's a tourist town. We don't do stabbings. Yeah. And nobody gets stabbed anywhere at breakfast, and no one gets stabbed by a stranger. Like, those are crimes of passion, not random acts of violence. So like, this is just, and then I'm, and then it's on a day when Life Flight won't take out. And I'm sitting there thinking, man, I really can't catch a break today. And I don't know that the ultimate break ever has already happened.
That guy Chris has
already saved my life. And so, they get me to the hospital, and the best thing that happens is I hear this voice. And, we're sort of halfway, liturgically, we're halfway to Pentecost. And Pentecost, the coming of the Holy Spirit. I hear this voice, Matt, I'm here with you. I will not leave you. I will never leave you. I will not leave you alone. I am here. You will be okay. And I'm listening to this voice, and I'm going, God, I know this voice. the Holy Spirit sounds like somebody I know. Whose voice is this? And they've taken my glasses, and I am blind as a bat. I've got a focal, clear focal length, like from here to here. Yeah. So I hear this voice. I'm going, gosh, this voice is so familiar. The voice of the Lord is like a voice I know so well. And then all of a sudden, the face like leans through the fluorescent lights. Because at this point, I'm in an operating room, and they're trying to, finish the stabilization and make sure I'm draining and all of this stuff. And like the face leans into my focal length, like it kind of passes through it for a second. And I have this just fleeting moment of, oh my gosh, this guy in the Jacksonville trauma unit is a dead ringer for Carlos Avalis, the fire chief. It's so crazy. Wait till I tell him this guy. I swear he looked just like him.
You got a doppelganger in St. Augustine.
Yeah. I'm going, he's got a doppelganger in Jacksonville. So crazy. And then I hear him go, hey, Carrie's on her way in. You got to look tough. And I'm thinking, I've lost half my blood. I'm in a trauma unit. What does tough look like?
He's served in the military, so that makes way more sense to him.
Carlos is pretty tough. Yeah.
He's a tough guy. And he's tough cookie. He probably saw some things over there that.
Yeah. So I have no idea what tough looks like, laying immobilized on a gurney.
You look very tough right now.
And I have never had a tough day. Like, the tough day is not in my wheelhouse.
Well, you can't say that now.
Yeah.
This is a pretty tough day.
So at this point, like, it's super traumatic for all of these people working on me. I've just been looking at the gray sky and having a conversation with God. So like when it comes later and the, workman's comp, because it's a workman's comp claim.
Because you wear your collar.
I'm meeting with a parishioner. Yeah. Like generally breakfast is not a workman's comp claim. But when
also
you're a pastor, it is.
Yeah.
It's also not usually the side of it. Yeah, stabbing is not usually a workman's comp claim.
The good news is you got backup from the big guy. You had a conversation with him.
So like I'm going into, I don't feel like I have a ton of trauma from this. I really don't. And then the traumatic part happens in the hospital. The guy who's the trauma surgeon says, 35 years I've been a combat doc in Afghanistan, Iraq, Ramsdale. Like I've been all over the world doing this. Never saved anybody with a punctured pulmonary. I was like, punctured pulmonary? Well, I'm glad I didn't know I had one of those.
Having a comp part would have went out the window.
Yeah, like a collapsed lung was bad enough. Punctured pulmonary, that sounds really bad. And he goes, yeah. Now the hard part is that your chest drain isn't cutting it. I need to put in the Big Daddy. And I'm like, well, okay. And he goes, yeah, it might be the most painful medical intervention there is. And I'm like, come on, it can't be worse than having a baby or passing a stone. He goes, well, you're about to find out.
Hold my hat.
And I'm like, well, just knock me out. He goes, well, that's the bad thing. Can't give you anything for it. I'm like, no. And he goes, no, you've lost too much blood. I'm like, a local?
Anything.
And I go, what am I supposed to do? He goes, hold on to the table. and my wife, so I'm now at this point, I'm screaming and my legs are up in the air and he's basically shoving a garden hose between two ribs. And you feel it go in and then you feel it bend and go up, and it's just really uncomfortable. And I'm screaming. My wife is out in the other room going, I'm here for you. And I'm like, yeah, what good is that?
That's not helping this.
Not helping.
Not your most beautiful moment as a husband. But
so the tough part that your chief gave you went out as soon as the garden hose goes in your chest.
Yeah, tough was gone at that point. Yeah. So, then, so at this point, my kids have gotten like phone calls. Hey, your dad's been stabbed. They're on the West Coast. They're like packing black suits and getting in planes. By this point, they know that I'm probably going to make it. And they arrive that night. And 2 days later, they do a surgery to like vacuum me out and replace my tube with more tubes. And the chest tubes aren't that much fun.
They don't sound comfortable.
They're not that comfy. Yeah. Pulling them out is super grotesque too.
Yeah. So, it's always had to be a part of those procedures.
Yeah, probably this is bad breakfast fare. I'm probably ruining it. View count's going way down.
Well, it all happened at breakfast.
It did happen at breakfast. It is a breakfast story of sorts. Yeah. So anyway, that was the stabbing, the person who did it. I think, as far as I know, is still in the state hospital and is not well, and it's really sad. I'm glad that I didn't. I'm glad I didn't die. It's it's a death penalty state. My guess is you stab a pastor and kill them in broad daylight, you're probably not gonna have your longevity probably decreases at that point. So, I mean, I'm my theology is that we exist to get it right with God here for eternity. And the problem with the death penalty is it gets in the way of people's ability to get it right here for eternity. So if I'm glad for me and for my family and for all the people that I'm in contact with that I'm still here, but I'm glad for her too.
Yeah, because it could have ended.
Yeah,
it could have ended 2 lives.
Yeah,
that happens. That's usually how it does end.
Yeah,
it usually ends 2 lives in that situation. But thank you for sharing that story. I mean, and I want to get to your grown-up job, not just what you do at breakfast.
Yep.
So how did Father Matt become Matt Marino to Father Matt? Tell me about that journey of how you got to that point.
Well, it's the normal progression of angry high school atheist becomes an Episcopal priest. That's a normal life trajectory.
I think I read that in a comic book one time.
I had sort of a non-religious upbringing, kind of vaguely Catholic, but mostly non-religious. Parents had kind of a real messy divorce when I was hitting my teenage years. And at the same year, I had 2 friends get killed, and everybody else's families kind of imploded. And I had this very conscious 6th grade thought: if there was a God, he'd have to be powerful and good. And either God's powerless or he's evil, because I'm seeing all of this evil in the world. It's kind of the end of Vietnam, and seeing bad things on TV as a child, and then 2 friends have come to violent deaths as 6th graders. One murdered, one in a joyriding accident, and hovered in a coma for a while and then died. And it was, and I just remember thinking, I think this is like Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny and the Tooth Fairy. God's just another way to get kids to behave well. And so I became a very evangelistic atheist long before that was cool. It was not really cool in the mid 70s, late 70s. And then a high school biology class. So I got to, I was so excited about the evolution unit in high school biology. Oh, everything's a result of time and chance. So I expect to see all of you silly people that are wasting your Sunday mornings in church at the basketball court with me so that the games can be better on Sunday morning. Because, Sunday afternoon, the games are great. Saturday, the games are great. But Sunday morning, 3/4 of the people were in church, which I thought was a real sad thing. So, the very next unit, I was a junior in a sophomore biology class, and the very next unit was dissecting a sheep eye. And when the football coach tossed the sheep eye, and we had to catch it, I'm at a back row lab table, and I take one look at the sheep eye, And, you know, for me, the voice of God seems to have a snarky edge often. I remember hearing...
I'm pretty sure he talks to each individual
as we need as
as you giving material.
Yeah. And I just remember having this list, like my first near audible in life. I will explain this with beneficial mutation. I remember looking at the sheep eye going, yeah, there are like, I don't know, 9 or 10 tissue types here, and they all have to be together and functioning for this thing to work. So a sheep's eye is not an accident, and that means the rest of the sheep is not an accident. Probably every other mammal then is not an accident, and then all life is not an accident. And I dropped the sheep eye, I cursed out loud, stood up, and the football coach said, "What's the matter, Marino? Are you grossed out?" I said, "No, sir, I'm freaked out." And I grabbed my backpack and left. And I just remember thinking my worldview was crumbling right there. All of a sudden it was, well, if life is not accident, then life is on purpose. And if life is on purpose, someone made it. And I should probably find out who that person is. So I need to like find a religion. And so people have explained this before. I am not the first. I'm not the first to have this question. So
I just imagine that moment in the movie Mummy when the mummy's like resurrected and he finds the little lackey guy and he just holds up all the religious symbols to figure out which one works. I kind of imagine that moment of you running out of the classroom like, oh crap.
It's like a paint swab.
Well, it was okay. It was sort of like that in a very 1980 kind of a way when you couldn't just like, you know, be a grumpy atheist and watch a couple of YouTube videos and regurgitate what you heard. You had to actually go to a library and read books. So
microfiche and everything.
So I ditched school and went to the public library and started. And I checked out a book on Zen. And so this is my I'm angry at organized Christianity. And so as far east as I could get before I hit the date line and came back to the West was Zen Buddhism. So I started with Zen and started working my way through the world religions like the flip cards. That's really, I never thought of that before. But yeah, so I basically over a 2-year period just sort of ran out of religions. And the problem was I couldn't explain why I couldn't, like all of the world's religions have this great ideal of how you ought to live. I couldn't explain why I couldn't do it. And that was my problem was I know how I ought to live. I don't do it. And the epitome of this for me was one night, my mom, we're watching TV and my mom, you know, divorced mom with 2 teenage boys who are both numbskulls and, you know, train wrecks. And she asked me to take the trash out and I give her total grief and she starts to cry. And finally I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. Well, the trash run for me is like a 30-foot run. It's a condo and the trash dumpster is right outside our gate. It's just not a hard task. Yeah. And I take the bag out and I throw it in the dumpster. I'm like, oh, but can't believe it. You know? Yeah. And then I hear another, my second near audible in life. I thought you were like trying to be, at this point, I'm trying to be a Confucianist.
Yeah.
The only Confucianist at my all-white high school, you know.
In Phoenix, Arizona.
Phoenix. And I thought you were trying to be religious. I thought you were like moral. The only human that would really lose sleep if you weren't here and you just made her cry. You're not that good. And I had this I kind of leaned against the block wall and sort of just sank down into the asphalt driveway thinking, I'm really not a good human. I'm not living the way I know I ought to live. Like, I don't know about God and his 10 non-optional principles, but I'm not doing it. I need something that can give me the power to live the life I know I ought to live. And that was where the Christian message, with the message of the cross and Jesus's self-sacrificial life to give us purchase forgiveness and send the Holy Spirit to give us the power to live the life we know we ought to live. And that's how I ended up in Christian faith. And at that point, I went to work for Young Life pretty quickly after that. Spent 20 years on Young Life staff, hanging out with high school kids.
I was in Young Life when I was
nice.
I was a Young Life leader. I was a horse wrangler at Wendy Gap.
Wow.
So
way to go.
I did Southwind and Windy Gap.
Awesome. Yeah, I love Windy Gap. In Arizona, we built this Young Life camp, Lost Canyon, and Windy Gap was the one we sort of most modeled it after. Mm-hmm. But they sent people all over the country looking at every camp and spending hundreds of hours trying to figure out how could you up the game on what was, Windy Gap was the ultimate camp for young people in the country. And they were like, okay, if cost was no object, what would we do? And they built this camp in Arizona that's up in the mountains and almost rainforest. Mm-hmm. It's so beautiful. And they built it to look like an old railroad city had emerged over time. It's really so cool. Awesome. It's so cool.
A cool story about Windy Gap, because they're in our Rotary Club too. I was in college, and the speakers were Joe Bowles and Reed.
Estes.
Estes.
Awesome.
They were the speakers that day, and the person who handled all the volunteers was Tracy Upchurch.
Oh my goodness!
That's how I met those three. Was at Windy
Joe,
Gap.
Tracy, and Reed. That's pretty great.
That's how I met those three here in St. Augustine, and we've been friends.
Ever since
40 plus years, 40 years.
That's awesome.
So that's Windy Gap. And it was amazing experience. Yeah. So. I hate to stop you on this moment, but we do
have to pay the bills and do the thing.
We got
more reads.
I got to pay the bills, and then we got a couple more questions.
Well, that and I'll have more things to go do after this.
Okay.
That is right.
Got to go buy my Ford.
We're gonna lean into the Gas Buddy Gas Report. Tell us in the comments what gas prices are looking like around you. Let's scroll through the gas prices, y'all. We got Circle K at $2.07. That's $2.69. A1A discount beverage is at $2.79. Sunoco at North Ponce is $2.84. Shell on King Street is $2.87. Shell on Ponce de Leon Boulevard, however, is $2.89. Along with Owens on South Ponce, $2.89. Sunoco on South Ponce as well, $2.89. So is the Shell on North Ponce. We've got the gate on Mizell Road is $3.15. The gate on US 1 North is $3.19. We're moving in the wrong direction for your prediction, Troy.
We've still got some good ones out there.
That Gas Buddy Gas Report is brought to you by Chris Lucero Bail Bonds. In trouble with the law? Call the name St. Augustine Trusts. Chris Lucero Bail Bonds. Available 24/7, their experienced team is ready to help you and your loved one get out of jail quickly with compassion and zero judgment. They make the bail process simple and stress-free, guiding you every step of the way from paperwork to release. When every minute counts, remember the name and number. Chris Lucero Bail Bonds at 904-822-BAIL. That's 904-822-2245.
Let's skip that and just send them to visit St. Augustine for the music report today, because we have a very special guest. This is not more important.
Blake, can you add the music report link to the comments so everyone can scroll through for themselves?
Thank you,
sir. All right, so the music report is brought to us by Fidus Roofing. Fidus Roofing, we do want to thank them. When it comes to protecting your home, trust the St. Augustine roofing experts. Fidus Roofing and Construction, voted best in St. Augustine every year since 2012. From emergency repair to full replacements, Fidus delivers expert shingle and metal roof installations, including top-tier materials like the GAF Lifetime Roofing System and durable aluminum or galvanium metal roofing. Galvalume. Backed by trustworthy warranties and GAF Master Elite Certificate, Fidus ensures your roof is built to last. 904-355-ROOF.
They do pavers.
And gutters. All right, we're back to Father Matt.
Yes.
Right, so,
I know. We had to get through that.
Yeah.
Trying to rush.
Wait, I'm still, the roofers do pavers?
Yeah. And gutters.
They're full on construction guys.
Yeah.
So Father Matt, so now you're here in St. Augustine, and I wanted to talk about mental health, because obviously what happened to you and the torment of the woman that attacked you. You get to see so many, and people bring you so many problems, and when someone brings you their grief, and how do you absorb that and create them in a better place and calm? How do you process and make that happen? I know every individual is different, but I think as a father, as pastors and coaches, anybody can help a person in this situation. What's your best advice when someone comes to you with trouble and you're absorbing this and taking it in? What's your best advice you can give to people?
So are you like for those who, because we're all caregiving to all of the other people in our life all the time. I think the trick here for all of us is to be empathetic without owning other people's stuff. Mostly what people need is an ear, and it's a great honor for someone to now there are people who take the honor a little too far and won't stop unloading, but for most of us, it's a gift that the people we love and others in our life trust us with their pain. And so to get to walk with people in their pain is an honor and a sacred trust, and to be able to bear one another's burdens along each other's paths is a real gift that I think we should take as a sacred trust, and B, not feel like we have to fix it. So a lot of times,
I think that's key.
Yeah,
I think that's key. I think when people bring you the heavy stuff, our natural instinct is almost like, oh, I can fix it.
Yeah, well, and it's the great male gift is, hey, here, I can fix that for you. Right?
Well, it's also something that moms do too.
You need to kind of resist and just be present.
Yeah,
and I think that's the key, because I'm a guy who's like, that's where I would screw up.
He's the guy that knows all the people.
Yeah.
And so if you have a problem, he can fix it because he knows the people.
He can connect. Yeah. You can connect us with whoever we need to be connected to. Yeah. I think first of all, to be grounded yourself in your own walk with God, so that you're showing up full and not showing up empty, because, two empty containers have a hard time.
Yeah.
An empty cup and an empty cup, that's two empty cups. But if someone is full and can splash a little of the extra over, that's the gift of the Holy Spirit, is there's always more God than we need. And, so if we can share a little love and light and compassion with one another, but not have to feel the onus of trying to fix it, but just to be with them, that's a gift.
And thank you, Father. We still have some other stuff, but amazing interview, and appreciate. And we're so glad you're still here with us. And thanks, Chris, whoever the heck you are.
Oh, he's amazing. Yeah, he's amazing.
But thank you.
And really all the first responders that day were fantastic. They just, really a group of people. And the first respond, talk about people who have trauma every day. They show up, they bring their very best. And then an hour later, they're on another call where they're having to do the same thing over again with someone else that they probably know.
Yeah.
And it's just a really real, and then they do their best. And when something happens, ordinarily when something happens to someone like what happened to me, they're dead no matter what they did. So they can do their very best, and the outcome isn't hopeful and positive.
You named Chris Bassetti and Carlos, and they're just we're fortunate to have, just like we're fortunate to have you. We're fortunate to live in a community where we have these
lot of just amazing humans here.
And I'm so happy. I don't know if you know about the new state law about helping first responders with mental health. That's going through the state legislation right now. So I'm really happy that that's actually happening. But thank you for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Really appreciate you sharing your story with us. So.
Thank you, Father Matt.
Honored to get to be here.
We do have a comment from the audience asking if you use your stabbing experience when other people are having a bad day. And I can say, in your sermons, it's not like, so that time I was stabbed. And, I've only, since the first one, when it was obvious, you had to kind of address it.
It's the first week back. I've got to say something.
Sunday was the first time I heard you mention it. And it was in the context of, being dead and called back to faith. And
the text this Sunday was when Peter raises Tabitha. So it's, it's about a resuscitation. And, I was pretty close to one of those. So, generally.
Pretty sure you got resuscitated.
Pretty sure. So, it's really funny because I'm sort of picturing this as like a Saturday Night Live skit. Like, remember who was it that did You Were Lucky? Was that wasn't Saturday Night Live? It was the British with the
Monty Python.
Yeah, you were lucky. You were rear-ended in a traffic accident. You were lucky. When I was stabbed.
Yeah. What were you stabbed?
All right, speaking
my joke kind of jokes that my son kind of jokes that I'm still getting free drinks off of it.
You don't really drink that much,
I don't really drink.
You do get cappuccinos, though.
I do get free cappuccinos.
You get a lot.
Every barista in town that's given me a free cappuccino, thank you very much.
A lot of parishioners bring them to church, too, because we're just happy to have you there to give them to. Speaking of comments, Troy, how would you like to check the comments?
I'm going to wander through the wacky words of our watchers.
Lovely. And as you do that, I'm going to shout out a couple more sponsors. We have B&S Signs. Want your business to stand out and stay that way? Trust the experts at B&S Signs, family owned and proudly serving St. Augustine for over 50 years. From eye-catching vinyl lettering to massive pylon signs, they offer a full range of custom signage solutions. Their experienced team handles everything from design and installation to crane service, repairs, and ongoing maintenance. And with their fast, responsive service, your sign goes up quickly and keeps looking like new. Visit bnssigns.com. We also have St. Augustine Handy House. Looking for a custom or prefab portable building? Visit St. Augustine Handy House, proudly owned by Troy Usina Enterprises and serving the community since 1988. With over 70 structures in stock, from sheds to barns to carports, you'll find durable, high-quality buildings built to last. Delivery, leveling, and anchoring are always free, and financing is available. Open Monday through Saturday on US 1 North in St. Augustine. Call 904-823-9092 today. St. Augustine Handy House, where quality meets convenience. We've got a second campus. We need a portable building.
Woo!
Troy, comments report.
Wawa's at $2.69 and Costco's at $2.69.
I have a
prediction. I have a prediction by July. Gas is going to be in the $2.60. So, kind of already beat July, but it has to hold up through July.
It's got to hold.
Yeah, it's got to hold. BP south of town's at $3.13. A lot of love in the comments for Father Matt. Great interview. Everybody really enjoyed it and sharing your story. Stoidum stat, because we got to get joined and get going here so people can get to work. Today's the day they arrived in Jamestown. So John Smith and his crew, he got captured a little bit later and they met this chick named Pocahontas.
Who's my ancestor.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yep. So John Smith.
Name dropper.
14 times great aunt.
Okay. So you
like sisters.
You only claimed the Pocahontas side, huh? Okay.
I can go
you
through.
Have to be on the John Smith side. I hate to tell you.
Her sister.
I brought up John Smith. You didn't bring that up.
No. I mean, I have people from England, probably. Who knows?
Yeah. Everybody's got a bunch of Smiths in their ancestry.
Yeah, exactly.
Smiths be getting around. That's Stardom Stat, brought to you by St. Augie's Pizza in downtown St. Augustine, right on the corner of Riberia and MLK. Get yourself a slice today. Thank you so much, Father Matt, for coming in and being so vulnerable and open about your experience. We really appreciate that. I'm kind of glad you didn't bring my Christmas present, because everybody would know what a sick sense of humor I have.
You gave me a very funny Christmas present. And there's this verse in Isaiah 57:14, no weapon formed against me will prosper. And she had it on a t-shirt.
That's perfect.
I'm like, I'm not going to tempt fate by wearing that and daring somebody else.
Do we have plugs today, Troy?
No, just everybody just have a great day. It's a wonderful Wednesday.
Yep. Love your family. Give hugs. Smile at people. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube. Thank you, guys. We've got Bollocks this evening, 5 p.m. See ya.